Well, hello, everybody. Thanks again for joining us for another episode of Under Investigation Stories Beyond the Badge. I am your host, Mike, and with me again, as always, is Brant.
I wasn't sure if you turned my mic on. You did. You did. I just watched you push buttons. And I'm like, did you not turn my mic on?
I should.
But you did. So I'm on. I'm good. I'm good.
Ryan actually slipped me $10 earlier to keep you on mute.
Wouldn't surprise me one bit.
Hey, so if you guys listened to our last episode, we were talking with Ryan Fowler. I guess would say a former deputy from Wisconsin who's telling us a story about basically getting arrested in North Dakota, and that's probably the big straw that broke the camel's back. But there was a lot of story behind there, talking about alcoholism, and some opiate use and medication abuse and all sorts of stuff. That Ryan, you've had quite a lot going on, I think.
Yeah.
At that time, certainly.
Yeah. And what we had touched on is that, I was an alcoholic before I got in. So it definitely, we were talking about those stories. Is there one I remember the totality of them? It was just the other week that I kind of had the realization of it. It wasn't any one particular call, one smell, anything. I was terrified the entire time of a couple different things. One was a failure, I think, because I just never learned how to succeed or fail. I was afraid of, when you're a canine handler, you're the guy. That's your call. You're put on the spot. And when you screw up, everybody's going to see it. And I was afraid of that, but just the fear in general of it's a scary goddamn job. And if you can't admit that, but at the same time, if you're an addict, adrenaline is a hell of a drug. It's probably the best one. And during my career, I never took time to be afraid and to let that out, to let it sink in, to let it out, to just go, hey, it's okay. It was okay to be scared.
I still remember the first time I got done with a call, and I don't remember. I'm as you're telling your story, I'm trying to recall what the call was. I just remember sitting in my car and not even realizing it, but literally feeling myself crying, like tears running down my face, and not even really having that emotional choke up. Like, oh, I feel it coming. Here it comes. I'm gonna lose emotionally. I remember just sitting in my car and just feeling just wiped, just completely just drained. Like the plug was pulled, and I'm just, and just literally feeling tears go down my face. And I just remember, like, I don't even realize I'm crying, and I'm crying. And you're right. And I don't think we take enough time to value. And again, like we talked about, right? Should we be held to that higher standard, right? Once again, I will die on the hill of saying we shouldn't, right? And to a certain extent, yes. On certain things, absolutely, right? But I also think that at the end of the day, we're human beings, and we're going to make mistakes, and we have feelings, and we have emotions, and there's things that are going to rub us the wrong way, and we're going to wake up and have bad days just like everybody else does. But I think a lot of it is, still that, we put so much in, and I 100%, again, my dog was just a narcotics dog, so I won't ever claim to be like the whole tracking, biting, things like that, because I know that's what your dog was. But you're right. Like there's times you show up and there's 3-4 cops standing there going, find the drugs. And you're like, what? Yeah, we know there's dope in that car. Go find it. And you're like I hope my dog's not having a bad. We as a canine handler, we know your dog has a bad day. Your dog's
right.
Yeah.
What?
If you already have your PC to search that car and I have my dog search it and I don't get an alert, now what?
Yeah. No, I'm the bad, yeah. But you're right though, right? Or, hey, we know he's in there, and your dog goes in there and doesn't find him, or somebody else finds him, and you're just like, well, yeah, you're right. But I think in general, don't you think though, Ryan, that in general, right, prior to getting that dog, just in general, we go to these calls for service and we almost feel obligated to get it right. It's regardless of what it is. It can be a noise complaint. It could be a damage to property. It could be, my neighbor's dog shit in my yard, but we feel this obligation that when we get there, like there is no second chance. Like we have to get it right the first time. And I still remember going on calls for service and going, the statute book is this thick, and I didn't memorize that statute, but not all of it. Now I know how to look it up and I know how to track it down, but I don't know all that stuff. And so you're just kind of like, I'm going to do the best I can to mediate the problem. But yeah, I think that's the big thing too, is getting it right. And then realizing later that maybe I didn't get it right, or maybe I could have done something different. So I think, yeah, I mean, that's always a contributing factor to what we've got going on with our careers. But then it bleeds over into our personal, right? Because if I'm not getting it right at work, or I don't feel like I'm getting it right at work, do we then take those emotions home with us? I don't care. How many times has someone looked at you and said, don't take work home with you, right?
Yeah.
I don't care. You know what I mean?
Yeah, good luck.
Right. You know what I mean? Though, like, that's great to say, but in our line of work, I don't care what anybody says. Any law enforcement officer out there that tells you that they don't bring work home with them is lying. I mean, you're going to bring some of it home. I don't care who you are, what you do, you're going to bring some of it home, and it's going to bleed over into your home life. It just does, But I think, like I said, I think it's just when you get to that stage, I was surprised, again, just to, kind of circle back to our last episode. I was surprised when you said you went cold turkey, because I can't imagine going from 100 to 0. Like, tell me about that. Like, seriously, tell me about that.
You just end up stuck in anger.
But I mean, did you withdrawals, like cold sweats? Like,
Yeah.
how long did you? I mean, how long did you?
I wasn't using to a level where I didn't recognize. I did go through withdrawals for a bit, but I didn't recognize it. I didn't know enough to know. In my mind, withdrawals, well, that's street drug stuff. It's not going to happen from whatever, but it did. I went through that where I was sick for a little bit and just never. Let's just be sick. And I'm pretty sure my ex-wife recognized it and she knew. I know now, obviously, that's what was happening.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, for sure went through that. But I think I had the benefit of fear yet keeping me from trying to access street drugs in any way, as far as replacing the opiates.
And at this point, had you already been let go or resigned in lieu of termination from the sheriff's office? Or are you still on leave?
No. Yeah. So I had been gone almost 2 years at that point.
Okay.
I resigned December of 2016.
And this is 18.
Yep. It
Yeah,
was July 2018.
So that's quite a spin. I mean, so then straight up just, I'm done. That's it.
A little bit of kratom. I don't know if you've heard of kratom.
Mm.
The closest thing it's akin to is a coffee leaf out of
Okay.
Asia. They sell it in head shops in Minnesota. Wisconsin, it's illegal. But that helped a lot as far as being something that would offer some pain relief without the highs or the euphoria of a normal opiate. So almost like whatever they used to get off narcotics.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Methadone.
Yep.
So,
which is still a drug, but yeah.
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Still a drug.
Still
and
an
even
addictive
the
drug.
kratom's still a drug, but something that helped, definitely get me off of and stay away from the opiates.
So when did everything crash?
There wasn't another crash after that. It was just me getting tired of wallowing in my own BS.
Okay.
And being angry all the time and not, I could see it that I'm not participating in my family. I wasn't present. It's all the benefit of hindsight. That's probably the best word is I wasn't present in my own family. And I wanted to change that. And I had, I was raised Christian. I was raised in the Lutheran church and had pushed quite a bit of that away. I had family members, on mom's side, the uncles that were cops, they started dying young. The first one died from esophageal cancer in 93. Another one, heart attack in 98. Grandpa was like 2000, 2001. Just grandmas, just relatives that were dropping from cancer. And the first one was in 93. I was 12 years old, and it just didn't get talked about. It was, oh, they're in heaven now, you don't need to worry about it. And that didn't sit right with me. I'm like, no, I need more explanation. Like, what?
Yeah.
It just never sat right. And that led to me pushing religion away, especially during law enforcement, when you see so much death and violence, that it just, I had this idea in my head that there's nothing. Like, this is just chaos, is all there is chaos.
Well, and we always, I think, it just, again, and Mike and I talk faith too, but I still think it's one of those deals where right? I think I, I was on for 8 years. I was on the LEMA board, Minnesota Law Enforcement Memorial Association. I was on the board of directors, and so we're the ones that kind of step in and help out with the officer funerals and line of death and procedures and things like that. And so many times you hear that same version or verse of if there is a God, why would he let this happen? If there is a
Yes.
God, why would God
Yeah.
allow me to have this happen to me and things like that? And you hear that so often, and it's one of those things where you sit back and part of you goes, the religion side of me says, um, God has his plan, and he doesn't put us in situations that he doesn't expect us to be in and things like that. But on the same note, you still can't help but look back and go, but if there is, like, why do why are these challenges being put in front of us, and why are these challenges happening the way they are, and putting us through the struggles and the trials and tribulations that they are, if there is a God? So I think there's a lot of law enforcement officers in general that will definitely have opportunities to question their faith. And I think there's some that just say, I always tell people, especially, now in the environment that I'm in now, I always use the terminology, whatever power that you believe in, because there definitely are different religions that we deal with now, but whatever power above you believe in, that understand that, having some investment into that is definitely going to help you move forward in this career. If you establish that relationship now with whatever power you believe in, it makes things a little bit easier to cope. And if we don't lose that, and I think there's a lot of incidents that have happened, that we sit back and we question that, but I think definitely, it's especially if you're already on that downhill slide,
Yeah.
that you start to have to question those things. But
Well, my short answer to that is without struggle there is no faith. I mean, that could be a whole nother episode.
oh, absolutely, yeah.
but ultimately, what is faith?
Mhm.
If it could be proven, if it
Yeah.
could be, I mean, that's the definition of faith. So
One of my favorite lines, and it's sadly that it's from a comedy movie, but I literally, when I heard it, I sat back and I was like, that makes so much sense. And it's from that movie, Evan Almighty, where he builds the ark, right? And God comes in and they're at the restaurant, and his wife is just in shambles, and she can't figure out why he's doing this and that. And um, God shows up and fills her basket of fries, and she just, she tells him how frustrated she is and this and that, and he says, you know, if if you pray for this, does God give you that, or does he give you the opportunity to have that? And and he does that for all those, that he goes through a list of things of, if you pray for this, does God give you this, or does he give you the opportunity to be, if you pray for courage, does he give you courage, or does he give you the opportunity to be courageous? And I realize it's a movie quote from a comedy movie,
It's great though.
but just
some truth there.
but I that stuck with me very, very much, is that God's not going to come in and go, here you go, but he's going to provide opportunities for you to be successful in that area. And I think that's where, again, not to fast forward your story too far, but I think that's where the story ends up is, there's opportunities that come up that you have taken advantage of, that have definitely put you, and I mean, I think we can transition into that, but I think that's, that there's been opportunities presented to you that you've taken advantage of, that have clearly had a very positive change. You want to talk about the project, or you want to talk about the medicine?
Yeah, all in one. Yeah.
Because I'll be honest, this is one of the most intriguing part of this entire interview that I'm just excited about, because I've
I'll
heard about
try
it.
and tell a quick story on how I got there. So I resigned December of 2016, and I had to find something to do, and thankfully I had my electrical construction trade to fall back on. So I was on job sites, wiring houses again, and listening to podcasts while you're doing that, and a lot of Joe Rogan, like most guys our age.
Who doesn't love Joe Rogan?
Joe
Joe
Rogan
Rogan should have me
and
on.
name the Navy SEAL podcast. There's a plethora of them.
Yeah.
But
Sean Ryan's my favorite.
Yeah, Sean Ryan and Team Never Quit. All the way back then in 2016, those guys were talking about psychedelic therapy, and I had some interest in it, but obviously, everything that's been beat into our heads about the drug war the last 50 years. And if you read, high school, they make you read That Was Then, This Is Now. Isn't that the one where Eminem tries acid and ends up his brain is fried? Yeah. It's going to be like that forever. Like, that's the last time I was a flaming liberal, was reading Dalton Trumbo's Johnny Got His Gun.
Flaming liberal. You were no.
And then I graduated and voted for Bush.
I'm like, flaming. No, you could be a lot of things. You could be an alcoholic, but I don't foresee you being a flaming liberal.
I don't have a home anymore.
just floating around in the political air. Yeah, that's
one thing I did do was I started exploring faith again through that, just not exploring it, but researching different religions and Buddhism a little bit because of meditation and trying to not be so angry. And through YouTube, got into a lot of Ram Dass, watched and read a lot of videos and a lot of lectures, and it really resonated.
What's Ram Dass? I'm sorry.
Ram Dass was a Buddhist lecturer.
Okay.
For lack of a better, sort of a Hindu religious lecturer. He was a Harvard law professor in the 50s. He was raised Jewish, and then it was him and Timothy Leary and some other folks that did some initial studies with LSD and psilocybin at Harvard, and they were kicked out of Harvard for that back in the 50s. And then he went to India and studied Hinduism under his guru, I'm doing air quotes, and then came back to the States and wrote a book about it, and just was a spiritual leader for a lot of years. I think he passed in 2018 or so, somewhere in there. But that kind of opened me up to all religions are kind of the same. They're telling kind of the same stories, and at the core is love. And Ram Dass's quote, one of my favorite quote, is "Love everyone and tell the truth." It's that simple. We could dumb a lot of things, keep it simple, stupid. Love everyone and tell the truth. It's just that simple. So at the same time I was exploring those and watching or listening to these podcasts, and it planted that seed of the psychedelic therapy. At that time, it was all of our special forces, military guys that were doing it. And I had a hard time justifying it in my head because, again, back to, I was never in a shooting. I never had to pull the trigger. So what trauma do I have that I have to deal with? It can't be that. But it made sense. And one of the couples, Marcus and Amber Capone, where, they've been on all those podcasts. They started Vet Solutions, Veterans Exploring Treatment Options. Their organization was sending people Navy SEALs and special operators only, not just military folks, but like tip of the spear, our elite guys, sending them to Mexico and doing an Ibogaine ceremony and a 5-MeO DMT ceremony, which is the toad venom. And you're watching guys that you respect and that are, mostly those conservative mindset folks that are our country's hardest chargers, and they're coming back and talking about their feelings and shit. There must be something to it. So I emailed those guys. I called and I emailed for a couple of years, harassed them because they were special operators only. And by 2023, my now friends Tim and Angela started the Siren Project, and Vet Solutions turned me on to them. They said, "Hey, we can't help you. We focus on our special operators only, but here's the Siren Project. They focus on first responders." They started out of California, Bay Area, husband, wife, firefighter team, and it was mostly firefighters that were going through their program. We call it a tribe. When somebody goes down, they'll send a group. A group of people is the tribe. I was in tribe 2 and the first law enforcement officer to go through their program. We went down to Mexico and did a psilocybin ceremony one day, and the next day did a 5-MeO DMT ceremony. And there was other little ceremonies mixed in there. Even just tobacco is grandfather tobacco ceremony. There's cacao is kind of, it is not hot cocoa, but
I was going to say
it's
that's
very
the only
much like
cacao I
hot
know.
cocoa, but
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
But everything has a ceremony, and that gets back to I try to call it sacred medicine instead of psychedelics to try and help break that stigma of the last 50 years that's been beat into our heads about it. And when you go and experience it in that setting, in the ceremonial setting, it's a beautiful thing. And it's in its simplicity. I don't want to jump around too much, but what I don't like about where the country and society is trying to head, they're trying to legalize it through pharmaceutical companies and trying to sterilize it and get it ready for clinical setting. We need to make this clean and repeatable for a clinical setting. Well, that's a big part of the healing is the ceremony, and the being out in nature is a big piece of it that helps you heal. I don't know where do you have questions about it? Otherwise, I'll just keep
100
dive in with
questions.
questions. Otherwise,
So you connected with this group. You were the first law enforcement officer that went down there. In preparation to this interview, obviously, you sent me some materials and I watched them. What was it? Waves and War.
Yeah, in Waves and War just came out is a great one, and that focuses on vet solutions and Navy SEALs.
So when you went down there, you being the first law enforcement officer that went down there, and how many other people did you go down there with?
I think there was 8 of us total, 7 or 8, and the rest were all firefighters, a mix of male and female.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask you. Did you go down with military? You didn't go with military. You went with other first responders.
Yep, all first responders.
Okay, and watching that documentary, honestly, I was blown away. So when I came into this, and I still am, when I came, coming into this episode, this recording, I don't have an opinion necessarily either way. I grew up like you, Dare. Bad drugs are bad.
Mhm.
I was
Drugs
a
are
Dare
bad.
officer, so no, which we could talk about Dare because that's a whole nother pyramid scheme, but whatever.
100%.
But anyways,
Drink the Kool-Aid.
that's another. Yeah, I probably wasn't a very good Dare officer. I only did it for 1 year, and I was like, I'm done. And
They claim it's one of the hardest schools to go through. Was it?
no,
Okay.
no,
Because
no.
DRE school, I was like, have you
know.
been to DRE school? Because I have, and that by far is more difficult.
No, Dare wasn't. As long as you're okay with public speaking,
Which, yeah, not me. I'm very
it's
shy.
okay. It wasn't hard. It was harder being away from my home for a week.
Yeah, I bet.
But anyways, but going down there, what were your initial thoughts? I mean, is this were you nervous? Were you like, let's do
Terrified.
this? I mean,
I was terrified of. I was halfway through the psilocybin ceremony before I finally let go. The whole time I was tense and I'm waiting. Like, all right, when's it gonna get weird? Somewhere here, there's gonna be a finger in the butt and shit's gonna get weird.
that's exactly what I'm thinking. I'm like,
And when that didn't happen, I was pleasantly surprised.
Here comes the pink dancing horse or something.
Yeah.
I mean, does that stuff happen? I mean, did you have hallucinations?
Not okay. I think we're going a different area.
Okay, sorry. I'm too excited about this.
Everyone's experience is different.
Okay.
And for me to break some of the stigma, no. Comparable to dreaming, I guess. It's not like you're seeing pink elephants or seeing stuff that's not there or hearing things that aren't there. Can you? Yes. But it's more of See, we drank it in a tea, and it takes about an hour to kick in. And
That
then
was my question.
we were laying down in kind of a group setting, much like you saw on In Waves and War.
Hmm.
Um, you're laying down in a group setting. You have your blanket and your mat, your pillow, and you have your own. It's private, separate area, but with a group. And blindfolds on, and that's kind of part of it. Is some of the John Hopkins studies, they recommend music in a blindfold, and this was very similar. Our music was live. We had a young lady, singing and doing several different instruments, and it was amazing. Um, and then your blindfold was on, so it was more of a very dreamlike experience versus having your eyes open and seeing things that aren't there. Now, I've also had those experiences at different times where, again, it's not like you're seeing something that's not there. It's more like things are kind of melting. Um, Almost like putting on the beer goggles, it just distorts your vision a little bit. It's not like God's going to appear here in front of you and you had a whole conversation. Maybe in a very much dreamlike state where you think you're dreaming and that's happening, if that explanation makes
Yeah.
sense.
No, it does. It does. So
Um,
what kind of things are flashing up? Because at least from that Waves and War, and again, I'm gonna, I don't know if I'll get in trouble for copyright. If anything, they should sponsor this episode now that we're talking
Love that
about it.
idea. Love
But
that idea.
because I mean, I watched it and I watched it with like it was intense, and but it seemed like a lot of those folks on that show or that documentary were like having flashbacks to traumas as kids and even as adults. I mean, is that what was happening
yeah, I went
in the
into it
depth of it?
expecting, oh, we're going to relive some first responder trauma. And that's what the real issue is. And we're going to bury it. Well, the reason we all, not all, but the reason a lot of people get into being a first responder is because of that childhood trauma that they experienced, and you want to stop others from going through that. And that quote was actually in Waves and War. If we didn't have childhood trauma, we probably wouldn't have soldiers.
That's true.
That hit, that landed.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. I hadn't thought of that
Yeah.
because I heard soldiers, but you. I'm not
Um,
hijacking them, but I mean, you could say that about first responders potentially.
So
Some.
a lot of my tribe members did relive like childhood trauma stuff. For me, I don't think I was ready. I'm still doing a lot of the work where I'm open to going back and doing more work for, because what they say is what you get from the medicine is what you're ready for.
Mm.
And I think I was so closed off and those walls were so thick that what I initially got from it was just a knowing of I'm going to be okay. I can do this and I'm going to be okay. I'm going to live. It's all right. I didn't specifically um, relive anything or have any great realizations. A lot of that comes days, months, even years later. Like I just had a realization about being afraid a couple weeks ago.
And again, just to remind us, what year did you go down there? When did you go down
September of 23.
there? And it was Mexico?
Yep. Puerto Vallarta. Yep.
How much does this cost?
So the Siren Project covers everything except your plane ticket and a night in the hotel because they want you to come down a day early to be there. So they're a nonprofit. Their goal is to raise funds to pay for the treatment portion of it, which is X number of nights. I don't remember exactly off the top of my head, 5 or 6 nights at an Airbnb with the group setting. You guys are all there. It's basically a mansion where we stayed. It was beautiful.
Mm.
Right on the ocean, in the jungle, but not on the ocean.
So if you get there, however you get there,
Yeah.
the treatment portion was picked up for the Siren Project.
Yep.
And before we get into a little, let's give a little hat tip to the Siren Project.
And I can quote it. Currently it's $4,000 is what their cost is to put somebody through the treatment.
And Siren Project only they're geared towards first responders, or do they do military as well?
They will do military, but they'll try to steer you to another organization just because there are so many, and they have such a waiting list now of first responders and first responder family members that are trying to go through. So, if you can afford to put yourself through, that's great. That's option A because we want to, hold as many funds as possible for people that can't to make it possible for them.
Gotcha. And then what about somebody who might be listening to this right now and they're like, oh man, my spouse or my child or my father or whomever. How do they get a hold of the Siren Project? Is it
Their website,
in
the sirenproject.org.
sirenproject.org?
Yep.
Okay.
I should double check that as we're.
We'll have our minions do it. We'll confirm it as well, but we'll make sure that we put it on our Facebook page and make sure it's proper. So you go down there. So tell me about this. So you drink it as a tea, and I know that I'm probably bouncing all over it because I got a million questions in my head, and I know Brant does too. But um, so you relax. You're kind of in this group setting. I've got a visual of that because of that documentary.
Yeah.
You drink a tea. Hour later, it starts kicking in. What kind of walk me from there? I guess.
It's very spiritual. There's just no other explanation for it. They're really the things that you experience. There really are just not a lot of words for. That's the hardest thing is putting that experience into words. Musically, again, we had a young lady that was singing, playing a guitar, and wasn't an accordion, but very much like that. I forget the name of the instrument. It's kind of a Hindu Indian type instrument. But at one point while it was peaking, I think she was actually singing a Beatles song. I just can't spit it out. But in the midst of that, there was a point where she hit a certain note, and I heard every song ever written, all at the same time. And
Hmm.
you could distinguish it. Like you could think about it, and and you were hearing it. It was really strange, but it was just a knowing that this is everything all at once. And that was, for me, was kind of the start of back to spirituality of like, we're all connected. There is this oneness going on. Again, for me, it was very dreamlike, where it was very much a needing to know that I was going to be okay. And at one point, my grandfather popped in, and it was in that dreamlike state, and it was just a picture of him that I still have, but it was like that picture came to life and he just winked at me. And it was like that wink that he used to give, that you're going to be all right, bud. You got this. You're okay.
Okay. Do you think that was a sign then?
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
that
Yeah.
confirmation that yes, you are going to be okay.
Yeah. And it was,
Couldn't imagine that experience. I don't know if I'd be scared or obviously it was a good thing for you.
So
Yeah.
you're there 4 days,
it was 4 or 5 days. Yeah.
and then
we
each
got
day
there
is
on
a
a
each day is
Saturday,
a-
left on a Friday. So
each day is a different ceremony.
Yeah, I think it was we got there Friday, spent the night as a group in a hotel, got together Saturday, went to the Airbnb, got settled in, and then the next day, Sunday, I believe, was our psilocybin ceremony. And there was a lot of other prep work and little ceremonies that went into it as far as getting ready for the main ceremony.
And how long does that last? Are we hours? Are we
Yeah, psilocybin that was probably a good 5 or 6 hours.
okay?
Probably 7 for everybody to be done. I think I was the first one to kind of come out of it. I just remember kind of coming out of it, and the medicine's leaving your body, but you're just in a good mood.
Okay,
It's not that you're euphoric. It's not that you're high. You're just relieved.
almost like calmness.
Yeah, the calmness, this weight is off your shoulders, and you have the giggles. And
So then you're done for the night. You're done for the day, or done for the night.
yeah,
Okay.
you have group meeting to kind of process it, talk about it. There were some exercises we had done beforehand, writing some things down, expectations and whatnot, and then we redid that afterwards to see if your mindset had changed. And
How many people total?
7, it was 7 or 8.
Okay. And is it all just like individuals? Is it couples? Is it, a little
All
bit of men?
individuals. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
I think I'm not behind the scenes doing what they do, but I think they try to keep couples not at the same retreat, just so that you can relax and not be worried about your partner.
Hey, that's
That
probably a good
makes
idea.
sense.
tends to happen.
It actually makes a good. I mean, it's a valid point though, because that's how that works and whatever thing. So then is it this? And so it's a different ceremony though the next day then, right? Or the next ceremony is different. It's not the psilocybin anymore. It's something else.
Correct. Yeah. So the next day was 5-MeO DMT, and I can't spit the scientific name out.
Yeah.
That's
Same type of procedure though. You're in the room. You're on the mats. You're
that we did. That is it's really intense, and we did that individually. Whereas as a participant, you were by yourself, but you have the facilitators surrounding you. But it's such an intense experience, and they don't want kind of you on looking and going, oh, holy shit, and having expectations for yours. It's the reason I was told we were kept separate for that. I've participated in ceremonies where it was done in a group setting, and I much more appreciate the individual setting for that particular medicine.
And what do you mean by intense? Like what is? I'm trying to picture. What an intense setting is. Are you talking like emotional, like
Everything.
laughing, crying, cussing kind of thing, or
You have no idea how you're going to react. Again, everybody's different, and for me, it was a little different. But the general reaction with 5-MeO is it's it's got so much nastiness, kind of like leading up to it, because you're basically smoking it out of a bubble, like a meth pipe or some sort of glass apparatus. So already, as a cop, you're like,
it's called a hookah.
yeah,
this is wrong, right?
yeah.
This is not good.
If you want to keep it legal, you call it a hookah.
Yeah. 5-MeO is the one where you smoke it and you lay back, and by the time your back hits the mat, it's like you are on a rocket ship just shooting up into space. And it's like you could do a 10-second countdown, and people say, well, what happened? And it's like, it's almost like nothing happens. Like you just disappear into this nothingness.
Is that the toad poison?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, that there's all sorts of comments about the toad poison. It's like instant, it's quick, it's extremely powerful. Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of people say that's where they go and they experience their higher power. For me, and again, I don't think I was ready, because I've worked with it quite a bit since then and had some different experiences, but that particular experience was very much, you are so closed off and so closed down. You just need to know that you're going to be okay. And I did it 3 separate times there, in that sitting. The first time I closed, it felt like I closed my eyes and opened my eyes. It felt like I blinked and it was over. And I looked at them and I'm like, guys, nothing happened. And they all looked at me like, are you nuts? I think I was probably,
They're like, something happened.
yeah, I think I was probably out for 15 or 20 minutes, but in my time, it was like I blinked and it was over. And I had no recollection, no memory of anything. It's just, I blinked and that was it. I had a funny taste from the medicine.
So how do you, I mean, so earlier you made a comment that like that's where some people say they meet their higher power, whatever that is. But yet you're saying you don't remember?
For me, well, so I
So it's
I
different.
looked at them like, I want to do it again. They're like, you want to do it again? Okay, let's do it again. And second time was still kind of nothing. It was a little bit more powerful. The third time,
The third time.
I laid
Wow.
back.
It's like
and
riding the roller coaster. I want to go again. I want to go
My-
again.
Sorry, Ryan.
It's
we
like
can't help ourselves. We're cops, right? I mean, it's like, no way. This guy's no. Seriously, I am very interested in this.
For me, the third time is when something actually happened. It was like my field of vision kind of went fuzzy, like when the TV signal goes out in the old days with the TV that you turn the channels,
Oh yeah,
and you get one that was just black and white,
Yeah,
fuzzy.
It ends at like 1:00 in the morning.
Yeah.
I remember those.
Everything turned into that, and I laid back, and it's like I felt myself sink into the earth a little bit, and it was like just getting back to that warm hug. It's like I was just getting a hug from the earth and being told it's okay, like you're gonna be all right. And there was no other mythical experience to it. Like I woke up mad, honestly.
Really?
Like I didn't get out of this what I thought I was supposed to get. I'm not having the same experience. These, like I had, they're now friends and family that participants that I went with. Some of them smoked a toad and they relived their entire life and fast forward and experienced every trauma. Sorry,
That's right.
experienced every trauma and everything bad that ever happened to them, and were okay with it. And I'm walking away going, all I got was this peace. I was too busy being mad about it to understand the relief I got. Like it just took the weight off my shoulders. Um,
I really wish I would have recorded on video you saying smoking the toad, because that just doesn't seem right
no,
in a sentence.
it doesn't taste right either.
Oh, really? Is
No.
it just nasty?
Yeah, yeah.
Ugh. Okay, I'll take your word for it.
Since then, I've worked with it several times since then, and had some very, very spiritual experiences that were very dependent upon, in the sacred medicine space, you're always going to hear people talking about set and setting, and depending on your set and setting where we were. For instance, one of the groups I work with does ceremony at Lake Harriet Spiritual Center in Minneapolis, and that's got a lot of Native American history around those grounds. And the experience that I had there was very Native American. It had that theme to it, from music to the people that I saw to the interconnectedness that I felt. Just had that vibe to it. I had another experience near Interstate Park, Minnesota, Wisconsin. I don't want to give too much of it away, but again, different setting, where that was out in nature, and it was just a very healing, natural aspect to it, where you come out of that just knowing it's going to be okay. That I wish I had that. That is the one where you come away that just, there are no words for it. I come out of it and go, there is a God. I don't know how or why, but I know there is, because I just talked to him. Can't remember what he said, but
Mm,
I just experienced him.
wow.
And very much a warm love and knowing that higher power exists and we're going to be okay.
So when you went into this, I mean, would you classify yourself as still angry and kind of still, I mean, were you still drinking at this time?
No,
Because you had quit. You had said you kinda quit
2016. Yeah,
cold
I
turkey.
had quit. So this took me from, I guess what they call the dry drunk, perhaps, maybe.
Mhm.
Um, it gave me the ability to slow down and stop and look at it and go, oh, holy shit, that was all your fault. You did all that. You're not a victim. You're the victim of your own circumstances, the choices that you made. You are where you are because of your own choices. And it's just that simple. There's no other.
So you make the transition back, right? You obviously you come back from that. When you get back to here, back to the States, where do you I mean, obviously you've come back, you're rejuvenated. You've got some clarity, you've got some, is it now like okay, we gotta turn the page? Do we flip a switch? Is it transition?
Work wise, I had done a lot of work with, financially with my job. I'd done a lot of work getting myself set up that way, where I had gone back to the electricians union, gotten my license, set myself up that way. It was just getting my mental life in order, being happy, learning
Yeah.
how to be happy, learning that it's okay to be happy, and happy in whatever your circumstances are.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's, it's, we all talk about it, right? And I guess it's coined different ways, but that reset button, that,
Yes.
you know what I mean? Like you come back, it's like, okay, like now just from where I've been to where I'm at now, everything I've done through, everything I've endured, everything that I've accomplished and failed. At what point do you allow yourself, right, to hit that reset button? And you kind of talked about this before too, like, you know, we see this all the time, and it obviously is the way we are as well. But you can't help those that don't want help, And if it's you, I can't do it for somebody else. I got to do it for me. And we've said it as law enforcement. We've said it zillions of times to people. You sit down and go, I'm sorry about your husband, boyfriend, girlfriend, sister, uncle, brother, cousin, but if they don't want help, you know, and then now you're living that, now you come back. When do you give yourself the pass? When do you give yourself that reset button? When do you allow yourself to say, okay, now I get to start being happy again?
That's a practice every day.
Mm.
Just like gratitude. Obviously, I can't take my kids and they're young teenagers now. I can't take them down and put them through ceremony, but there's things that I can bring back absolutely, like gratitude ceremony and that mindset of just being happier. And it's not what people get hung up on is it's not just going to Mexico and doing drugs. There's a lot of work that goes into it, a lot of prep work, journaling, eating correctly. If you're a smoker, quitting smoking. If you're big into caffeine, quitting caffeine, doing an anti-inflammatory diet. It's a lot of life changes and things that, it wasn't just go have a good time and now you come back. That's kind of what I think my ex-wife's idea of it was, but there's a lot of
Flick the switch, you're fixed.
no, there's a lot of legwork going into it and a lot of work that you need to keep up with afterwards, like journaling, breath work, meditation, exercise, all the things you hear him talking about in the podcast that can and do help and make you healthier. That's one of the biggest things it gave me was the mindset to accept that stuff and give it a try rather than being the victim and being a pessimist and saying, oh, that's not going to work, and not even trying. I'm at least now trying.
But have you given yourself the opportunity to be happy again?
Yes.
Because we as cops in general, right? We are here to fix others. That's my job, right? And it's always been our job as cops is we fix others, we fix other things. We don't think about fixing us.
Yeah.
And when we do, right, in a generalized statement, this is not a Ryan statement, in a generalized statement, right, we have a hard time forgiving ourselves, and we have a hard time of telling ourselves that it's okay to be happy, it's okay to move on, and it's okay to be okay, and it's okay to not be okay. And as cops, we struggle.
You nailed it. It's okay to not be okay. Yeah. And that was something I wanted to say. Thank you for pulling it out of me. It's okay to not be okay.
But you know what I mean, though? And again, because again, I think the fact that you're here right now, right, is extremely courageous. And the fact that you're willing to sit down and tell the story to anybody, let alone in a podcast, right? But the fact that you're telling the story to anybody, I think is huge. But at the end of the day, has Ryan sat down and said, Ryan can be happy again? Because if you haven't, you should. If no one's told you that, right?
I did, but again, yeah, that's a daily practice and a great reminder to continue to do that because I have let myself slide lately, and it's a long story that I'll try to shorten up to squeeze it in. But you cannot help but come back from this retreat just like full of love and mirth. You're on this pink cloud. Life is great. I came back really wanting to re-fall in love with my ex-wife. I was an asshole for years. I didn't treat her the way that she deserved to be treated. And by the time I finally figured it out, it was too late. And that was the biggest part of where I had to give myself a pass and say, it's okay. You tried. It wasn't good enough soon enough, but it put me on a path to being a better man and being a better person that I met the woman who's now my fiance.
And that's, again, I mean, that's what I mean. I think it's, again, when it's non-intentional, right? That it definitely is one of those things you sit back and go, shoulda, coulda, woulda, right? But, it's kind of funny. So my daughter's with us today. For those of us that aren't here, I know.
Secrets out.
Yeah,
She's the one taking pictures over there.
she's the one taking pictures, and she also, as we were talking about this faith stuff. So my daughter goes to a Christian school, and she's a senior this year, and so I love her to death because she has a lot of like off the top of her head quotes. And as we were talking and having conversation, you're telling your story. She wrote me down. I'll show you. She wrote me down. I can't remember. I'm not going to recite all of this stuff, but she wrote down several things as we were talking. And one of them that I just really just when she wrote it down, I literally highlighted it, and that is that um, that God gives his toughest battles to his toughest soldiers.
Yeah.
And I just, for me, to have her write that down as we're sitting here, um, I really think that reflects back to you and your battles and what you've come through. And I just think that again, um, you know, I just think that it's tough, but I think you are definitely one of the soldiers that has fought the battle. And so I wanted to share that with you because
Thank you.
I just
thank you
think
for writing it
that,
down.
it's some of the stuff is not easy to go through and it's definitely not easy to talk about. So,
That quote reminds me of my fiance, and all of this set me up to back to accepting my faith, but to grandma used to call them, it wasn't coincidences, it was God instances.
Mm.
You know, so when I was young, I'd referenced earlier, my first uncle had passed away in 93. We have a little small family cemetery over in Dunn County, Wisconsin. It's by Menominee, Eau Claire. And I don't remember if you know or paid attention, but the early 90s, how many bald eagles were there?
Hmm.
You really didn't see them that often. So we're at uncle's, funeral was over. We're at the burial, and we could hear the screech. And we look up. It's 1993 when you didn't see a lot of eagles. We look up, and there's one bald eagle circling overhead. Fast forward 5 years, the oldest brother, the other uncle, who was sheriff at one point in St. Croix County, he passed away in 98. So fast forward 5 years, we're at his burial. We hear two screeches, two eagles. So this continued. Grandpa passed away. It was 2000 or 2001. I get my years mixed up, but same thing. 3 eagles that time.
Now you're going to tell me if there's a guy on the other side of the shoreline letting eagles loose, it's going to wreck the story, right?
Yeah,
You understand that, right?
No, that
I'm getting
hadn't
goosebumps
retold
here.
that.
I'm getting goosebumps listening to that. Honestly,
I finally told that story, I think, in Mexico, because we were all, trying to figure out his hippie shit. What's our spirit animal?
I'd stop.
Initially, mine was a donkey because I'm an ass, right?
Yeah. I was just going to say, you can't take that one, right?
So I retold the eagle story, but I missed out. I got my ex-wife and we got married in 2004, so I missed out on online dating. And when she handed me the papers and I knew it was over, we were done skis, I signed it. That little evil male part of my brain then went, I missed internet dating. I'm getting on Tinder. Here we go,
gosh.
right? And
hard turn here in the conversation.
So no, 5 days on Tinder, and like the 10th weird sexual whatever that I had to Google, I went, I'm too old for this shit. I'm out. This isn't happening. And one of my, I say now girlfriends, but they're like family from the tribe that I was in Mexico with. I'm talking to her and she's like, Tinder's gross. She's like, you got to try Hinge. If you really want to meet somebody, you got to try Hinge. I'm like, I don't want to meet somebody. I just, want to meet somebody. She's like, no, try Hinge. So I did. And I met the young lady who's my now fiance. And I tell you, I tell the eagle story because I'm open now to watching for the signs.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Andrea Lucci was our facilitator in Mexico, and Her teacher was a guy she calls Uncle Henry Neese. He wrote a couple books. He was a Native American guy. And his quote was always, pay attention. You need to pay attention. So now I pay attention, and I'm talking to this young lady, and anytime I'm like we're just on the phone, I'm driving hands free, of course, 'cause that's illegal. And I'm having thoughts of maybe I don't really want to meet her. Maybe this is just kind of too weird. Boom, bald eagle flies down in front of my car, and I almost hit it. And I'm like, oh, okay, Grandma, I'll pay attention. I need to go meet this girl. And there's so many little things like that have happened between her and I that draw us closer together when I pay attention to the signs. And it's interesting for her because she has her own story of recovery. She was raised Jewish, actually, and she's found God and attends the Assembly of God church. And she's been very big at bringing me back in to attending church and being open to exploring my faith and rediscovering it. I forget where I was going with it, but
That's okay. I do that all the time.
That's because you're old.
I am the king of wild tangents.
yeah.
I jokingly get to tell people, right? So this is a complete sidebar, but I jokingly
Here's a tangent right here.
yes, this is it.
Ryan.
It's saving me. So
when I had heart surgery, one of the things my cardiothoracic surgeon told me was,
You have no heart.
well, that's true, but I do now though. But he said to me, just so you're aware, after doing this surgery, because we had to stop your heart, right? You may experience for the rest of your life short-term memory. And I was like, perfect. I can use that. To this day, I'm telling you, I could be mid conversation and think of something, and all of a sudden, it'll be gone. And so that whole short-term memory thing, the heart surgery thing, I had to use my wife and go, don't you remember I said that? I go, that's, I had heart surgery. I can't remember that. Wow. So you play that card when you can, just telling you.
Thanks for stalling for me.
Anything for you. Anything for you.
He's here to help.
So
really.
I'm the co-host for a reason,
the direction I was trying to get at was part of what the medicine did, opening me up to watching for these signs and being open to new experiences in general. With now my fiance, when we first met, she's was battling ovarian cancer, and with everything I've gone through, losing family that way from a really young age, and it just continued, we're all just walking each other home. So I would have never given that relationship a chance had I not been open to new experiences and open to being happy and allowing myself to be happy.
And again, like I said, I only bring it up only because, again, a cop to another cop, I know that a lot of things we don't afford us that privilege. We don't take the time to say, is my significant other happy? Are my kids doing good? Is this happening? Is this going on? Are my friends good? We don't take the time to sit back and go, am I good? And then when I am good, am I giving myself that green light to say, I can be happy. It's okay. It's okay. I can be happy, and then because again, like I said, if you haven't realized it, then someone needs to tell you, Ryan, it's okay for you to be happy. It's okay for you to move past this, to move past the trauma, and you'll never lose it, but to move past it and to become more than, don't get stuck in that rut, because I think that's the problem is and again, all three of us can, as soon as I say this, someone's head's going to pop in their head, but we all know people who choose not, it's a choice, right? That they choose not to move forward. They choose not to move out of that rut. They find themselves jammed up and they just go, that's it. I can't do it anymore. And they don't give themselves the ability to move forward. And that's just why I asked. So what's obviously congratulations, by the way, you have a fiance. That's good. That's amazing. That's big steps forward. What else is going on with Ryan now? Because the past is the past and we're looking to the future and things are obviously going well. What's some of your,
we're kind of
horizon?
In that space of that's the message I want to share is that, it's okay to not be okay.
Yeah.
It's okay to be stuck. And there's different tools and options, but you have to ask for help. It's okay to reach out,
I think that's the big one.
you know.
Honestly, I think that for me is the, as far as the message that goes out is that's the big one, because we all know the resources are there because this is the profession we're in. We don't access those.
I think so many of us get our happiness and fulfillment, at least we think we do. We think we get it from the job. And you get so stuck, and then the job ends, and then you go, what now?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And that's a scary place.
Yep.
Really
Because
scary place.
again, Mike and I talked about this last week when we did our podcast, and he hasn't gotten there yet because he's still working, right?
Well, working. Yeah.
See, that's what I just said a
6,
little bit ago, and
7,
you
6,
said, no,
7.
don't you start with the 6, 7. But we had the
Everybody's eyes just roll.
we had the conversation, right? Is what happens when the calls stop? What happens when that radio call quits coming in? What happens when those partners quit picking up that phone? I still, right? I mean, I know medically I can't go back to work, but I would be lying to anybody. I mean, I literally last night had a dream I was still working the job, and it just, I still, there's parts about it I miss, and then there's other parts about it I just go, boy, am I glad I'm not doing this job anymore. And so I just, it's definitely, it's a hard shake. It's a hard to go, I don't want to do it anymore. Yes, I do.
Mhm.
Right. You know what I mean? But you're right. I think a lot of that, we think, like, we go to work thinking that the next call for service or my partner or whoever is they'll make it okay. And
Yeah, that's where I'm going to get my gold star.
Yeah.
On that next call. And
Yep.
it never happens.
Mm.
Yeah. I mean, we've all got those, those things that we go, oh, I did this when I was working, and I did, and good things, right? I mean, I got my first life-saving award, and when you bring somebody back and, they live and things like that, I mean, that's huge. Like, that's one of those deals, but, and that's a big thing to have. And you go, wow, I had this happen. And,
I was 0 for 7 with CPR.
I had
Never successful.
25 years. Hold on. 25 years. I got one.
That was one thing I wish they'd tell you in recruit school is how that's a last
How
percentage.
unsuccessful you actually are.
Unsuccessful
Yeah.
CPR is. Yeah.
I
How
gave
about
up-
how about
gave up
baby? How
counting
about
a long time.
how about babies? You ever deliver a baby?
No, that would have ruined me.
2?
I've delivered 2.
Fuck.
Well, it wasn't a beautiful sight, I'll tell you that.
No, I know, but you got those things where you just kind of go, not that it's good, bad, or indifferent, but just to have the experience.
Yeah. Oh,
right?
yeah. Well, I certainly, I mean, I
never-
don't regret it. I mean, the
Yeah.
first one was up north, and I worked up north. And then that was a meth head
Oh,
who the baby ended up dying just a couple of weeks later. And then the second one was a birth in a shower in Plymouth.
really?
Yeah, in another city.
That's
But,
crazy.
Yeah, no, that was interesting. It was me and another guy, another officer. And yeah,
I know.
nothing like clamping the umbilical cord.
My
It's fun.
many calls, but every one of them North Ambulance, or depending upon where I was working, a certain ambulance service would get there, and well, we're on the way to the hospital. They'd make it to the hospital or whatever. But that was also my.
How many dead people on the toilet did you have? Because that's where
Most
people,
of them.
Yeah,
Most
that's where
of
they
them.
die.
Instantly 3 instantly pops into my head.
Oh,
Instantly.
man.
I had
okay,
one-
this
Does the
conversation
Does the shower count? Does the shower count too?
Yeah.
Because can we just
Bathroom?
generalize bathroom? Right.
I had one elderly man. The call came out as a deceased man.
Oh no,
Elderly man.
We're going to
And
hell.
I walk in and it's an elderly guy on the toilet, and his adult daughter has got her arm around him and she's crying. And I said, ma'am, how long do you think? I got there first, of course. The firefighters were slow.
Oh, on purpose.
How long has he been dead, ma'am? And she says, dead? And he goes, huh? And evacuated at the same time.
Oh,
The sounds and the smells. And at that point, EMS showed up, and I said, I'm out.
yeah.
All yours, guys.
See you later. I'm heading to lunch.
When you brought up you brought up smells, right? I'm going to recap one that you missed, by the way. Dead body in the house. How many weeks? Windows closed. That's a smell.
Did they have cats?
They did not. My very first one did not, but it had been there for a while with no AC, and it was like July.
Yuck.
We got out of the squad. I was with my FTO, and we got out of the squad. I was on FTO. We get out of the squad. We took 2 steps towards the front door, and he looked at me and goes, "Stop." And I go, "What?" And he goes, Call for the firefighters." And I was like, "This house ain't on fire."
Huh?
And I didn't know. And I could smell it, but we were right next to a grain silo. So I thought maybe it's just from the grain silos, where they were processing grain and stuff. Firefighters got there, and the lieutenant walks up and says, "We need a couple of your air packs." And the firefighters are like, "Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, we're not going in there." And so, we walked in, and it was just the colors and the smells and it just everything about it. And you were like, "Yep, that's a smell you'll never forget." Yep.
We'll have to do I don't know, like an adult version episode and talk stories, because I could go for hours about some of the crazy things that I've seen, smell, and saw. So let's just kind of, where are you now? I mean, your sobriety is going well.
Yeah. There's no, I don't know how to explain it. There's no white knuckling it. Everybody, people tend to count their days and years and, "Oh, how long have you been sober?" And it's like, now that's just who I am. It's just the lifestyle. It's, I don't even think about it. Whereas I remember going to AA for the first time, like 20, 25 years ago, when I needed it, but didn't think I needed it when I walked through the doors. And I remember thinking, alcohol is so celebrated. I can't imagine not having this be a part of my life. And then I was at Sturgis with some buddies a couple of years ago, and we walked into one of the bars, and everybody's just getting hammered. And I'm looking around like, you guys are missing all of the beauty out here because you're just sitting here in the bar. Like, this place is magical. And
it's crazy though.
That's when it hit me, like it had flipped, that I didn't even realize it had flipped, that there once was a time I couldn't imagine not having this in my life. And now I can't imagine it being a part of my life. Like, I've got too much stuff to do.
Well, you got a marriage to plan.
Yeah.
Or is she doing it all? Careful what you say here. She
Yeah.
may listen to this.
That's
Just remember, it's super easy to fly to Florida, go to a beach, and get married on a beach, because that's what
I
I
was
did.
going to say,
That's
I'm
our
pretty sure that's
spot.
what you did.
Fort Lauderdale is our spot. She got me traveling. I didn't, 20 years I didn't travel. And then
Oh, wow.
this last couple of years we've been
Do it.
10 places, I think.
Yeah. My wife and I had both been previously married, so we both had the big church weddings and things like that. And when we finally decided we were going to get married, we said, "You know what? Just her and I, no kids, no family, no nothing." There was 4 of us on a beach. That was it.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's on the radar. Funny enough.
there you go.
We're going back to Florida in a couple weeks, actually.
There you go.
So Ryan, I want to put a pin on this whole thing and to give a real focus to your story. What would you say to department leaders, whether it's chiefs, sheriffs, or maybe even coworkers or friends, if they see, we'll go to the extreme, somebody that maybe is dealing with trauma and they're struggling, whether they have a diagnosis or not, or to somebody who, maybe their employee, their coworker is dealing with alcohol. What words, what things would you pass on to them to do, to look out for, to intervene? What you know what I'm getting at? Like what could they say to help out?
Speak up, number one. And I'm going to throw my sheriff who fired me under the bus, because we're back. We talk. We're back good. His parting shot to me the day he fired me, or the day I resigned in lieu of termination, was, we've been waiting for this to happen. We've been watching you spiral for a while now. And I just looked at him and I thought, what the?
Right. That's a bleep.
What is
there.
that?
We bleeped
Yeah.
that silently.
Like you saw it, but you didn't.
Seriously.
Yeah.
And I'm going to try to be nice to that relationship, but that's so
that pissed me
messed up.
off for the longest time. But
As it should.
I
mean,
I called him probably 6 months after that, because I worked with his son, was also a deputy, and oddly enough, his son took over as a canine handler shortly after I did. and we hung out. We're friends to this day, but we did a lot of the same things, and I could see him following in my footsteps where he was spiraling out of control. And I called him and I said, "Hey, you said this to me and that hurt. Like, why didn't you say something?" And I said, "Next time, say something. And for example, your son, if you see him spiraling out of control, say something. For God's sakes, don't let it happen." And it was probably 6 months after that his son, we can talk about it off the air, but
Yeah.
wound up a news story, much like I did.
Yeah.
Same county, same.
That's tough.
Mhm.
I mean, when you said that, I literally, I had an emotional like drain in my face. I was like, what? You're waiting for your employee to
Yeah.
bomb, basically.
Mhm.
It's like, wow.
That fed into that victim mentality that I had at that time. Like, really?
Yeah, I could see
But-
that. I could see how that
But
would
that's
happen.
but that's the rut you're in, though. I mean, at
Yeah.
that time, you can't, and again, you know, I won't claim to know, but I can imagine that at that time, like you said, you're in that victim mentality, so everything is poor me, poor me, poor me, and then when that comes up, it's just another hit towards poor me. When realistically, you wanted to, hindsight, you could have stopped and went, really? Like, did you just admit wrongdoing? Did you just admit that you could have helped me previously, but you didn't? Could you, just all those things that spiral through my head when you make that statement about admin wise, like, come on, and I think, again,
So-
I think
Our administrators, they could do a better job.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
And that's a whole nother, that oddly enough, that's a whole nother story that someone brought up to me the other day when I was at the college about, where that transition becomes between, the patrol officer, the patrol sergeant, who generally gives a shit, and all of a sudden, fast forward, and they become administrators of whatever caliber, and now it seems like they're more concerned about what the city council or the county commissioners have to say than what the well-being of that person that's working below them. So again, whole nother episode, but
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
and again, from my standpoint, just in closing here, Ryan, I just, once again, I know I've said it a few times and not to be the broken record, but there's not a lot of people that are willing to share this story, even though they've gone through it or are going through it. And hopefully, like you said in the very beginning, if there's one person that listens to this, one person that takes a step back and goes, holy shit, I need to do something. I think it's worth it. And again, I give you a ton of credit for having the courage to come forward, because when you sat here and said, I'm not even sure why I'm doing this. Yeah, you do. You do, though, because you have rose above it, and whatever powers that be have come upon you to not be the one that silently sits back and lets others go through the same thing. And that says a lot about who you are and who your character is. And again, I've never been in your position, and I'm glad I haven't been. And I'm thankful for you being here, and I'm thankful for you sharing your story, and I'm having the courage to do that, because, like I said, I just sitting here, there's many things that I just kind of sat back and went, holy shit. But I appreciate you taking the time to be with us today.
Thanks.
All right.
Where I'd want to leave it is if you're in that spot, speak up, ask for help. If you're that administrator and you can see it, keep pushing, because as cops, we say we're fine, and we know we know when we're not fine. So keep pushing. If you're that friend, you're that administrator, you're watching that person struggle, keep pushing, because you're on the right track.
I don't think I could say it any different. So Ryan, thank you. Appreciate you coming out.
Thank you guys.
We're never very good at kind of tooting our own horn here. So I will say, just join us on Facebook, facebook.com. We are under investigation. Obviously, if you're listening to this, hopefully you're either on Spotify or on iHeart, following us there.
We do have a TikTok
Oh, yes. Yes, we do have a TikTok now.
that Mike's not very good at.
I'm learning.
Right.
But TikTok is, you can find us at We're Under Investigation. And we just started throwing our podcasts up on YouTube as well. So find us all over the place. But Ryan, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I really do. Wear your own shit. Own your own shit. I'm
Own,
sorry.
own.
That's what the shirt
Mental
says.
Joe Apparel, another great companies, selling T-shirts, giving money to nonprofits.
Throw it out there right at the end. I love it.
I've got no problem with that. Yeah.
All right, everybody. Have a great weekend. We enjoy it. Take care.